Metal Church is back with a brand new album and one of the most surprising lineups in the band's history. But does Dead to Rights deliver, or is this just another chapter in a long history of false starts? Let's find out. If you followed Metal Church over the years, you already know that this band has had one of the most turbulent histories in all of heavy metal. I've always thought of them as kind of the Deep Purple of heavy metal, constantly evolving, constantly reshuffling, with one constant holding everything together: founding guitarist and chief songwriter Kurdt Vanderhoof. Everything else around him has changed, sometimes dramatically. And the vocalist situation has been particularly rough. David Wayne, who fronted the band on their classic self-titled debut, and The Dark, passed away in 2005. Mike Howe, who sang some of their strongest records, including The Human Factor and Blessing in Disguise, passed away in 2021. Both losses hit the metal community hard, and both left enormous shoes to fill. Then there was also Ronnie Monroe, who handled vocal duties across several albums in the mid-2000s and early 2010s. And while he was a capable singer, he never quite captured what made those early records so special. And here I have him right here. I forgot to show him before. But anyway, most recently, the band released Congregation of Annihilation with vocalist Mark Lopez. I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling that one. It didn't connect with me, and apparently the chemistry wasn't right behind the scenes either, because Lopez ended up leaving the band along with bassist Steve Unger and drummer Stet Howland. At that point, I genuinely thought Metal Church might be finished. It felt like the end of the road. Then, November 21st, 2025 happened, and everything changed. The announcement that dropped that day was not what anyone was expecting, and I mean that in the best possible way. First, the new vocalist Brian Allen, formerly of Vicious Rumors. From the moment I heard him, it was immediately clear why Vanderhoof chose him. Allen has that raw, aggressive edge that David Wayne brought to those early records, that slightly unhinged, powerful delivery that made Metal Church sound dangerous. It was like hearing the band find their voice again. But that wasn't even the biggest surprise. Joining on bass was David Ellefson, and yes, that David Ellefson, original Megadeth bassist, one of the most recognizable names in thrash metal history. Rounding out the new lineup on drums was Ken Mary, known for his work with Fifth Angel and Flotsam and Jetsam, a seasoned, technically accomplished drummer who brings serious credibility to the rhythm section. Overnight, Metal Church went from a band many people had written off to something that looked kind of like a supergroup. The first single, FAFO, dropped the same day as the announcement and set the tone for what was to come. Dead to Rights, the resulting album, was released on April 10th, 2026, and today we're going to break it all down. Let's start with what works, because there's a lot to talk about. The most important thing in the album is Brian Allen. From the opening track to the closer, he sounds like he was born to front this band. His style fits right in that David Wayne tradition, powerful, raw, and slightly menacing, but he brings enough of his own personality to avoid feeling like an imitation. On the faster tracks, he's vicious, and on the more melodic moments, he pulls out some impressive sustained notes and wails that remind you this guy has serious range. It's exactly the vocalist Metal Church needed, and hard to imagine anyone else fitting better. The new rhythm section also makes noticeable differences. Ken Mary's drumming is a genuine highlight throughout the record. He's not just keeping time, he's making the songs more interesting, adding drum interludes and double bass runs that give the album extra texture and muscle. David Ellefson's bass presence is felt throughout, anchoring the low end and giving the record that thick, heavy foundation you want from a metal album of this caliber. Together, these two breathe new life into the band's sound in a way that feels exciting rather than forced. Musically, the album leans heavily into the classic Metal Church sound, old school heavy metal with thrash metal energy, the kind of record that sits comfortably alongside their early catalog. If you loved The Human Factor or the debut, there's a lot that's going on to resonate with you. The guitar work from Vanderhoof and Rick Van Zandt is sharp throughout, with great riff construction, memorable solos, and some beautifully placed, harmonized guitar moments that bring to mind influences like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. The album also rewards patience. Some of the best moments come mid-song in the form of interludes that break up the heaviness with cleaner tones, bass melodies, and atmospheric passages before things kick back into high gear. Several tracks use this structure to great effect and keeps the album from feeling like a one-dimensional thrash assault. Now, in the spirit of honesty, let's talk about where the album loses a little steam. My main criticism is that the album front loads its strongest material. Tracks 1 through 5 are genuinely excellent, killer riffs, strong hooks, memorable moments. But somewhere around track 6, things become a little less distinctive. Tracks 6 through 9, while solid, don't quite hit the same heights. They're good. They're heavy metal songs, but they kind of blur together a bit and they don't leave a strong impression as the first 5 songs. In an album review, that's the kind of thing you notice when a record runs out of big moments too early. There are also a couple of moments where the lyrics lean a little simple, nothing that ruins the song, but a couple of tracks feel like they could have used another pass in the writing room, but music carries things regardless. But it's a minor thing worth mentioning, and while the production is solid overall, it doesn't have that extra punch that would push it into the elite territory, or elite territory. I think that's the way to pronounce it. But anyway, the performances are strong enough, and that's not a deal breaker, but slightly more dynamic mix that could have made these songs hit even harder. So now let me go through the album one more time, track by track. Brainwash Game opens things up with old school, powerful feel, catchy, heavy, strong drumming, and some Maiden-esque harmonized guitars in the back half. A confident and convincing opener. FAFO, the lead single, straight up thrash rager. Brian Allen is at his most David Wayne here. The song is fast, memorable, and the kind of track sticks in your head long after it's over. Great single choice. The title track, Dead to Rights, shifts the pace slightly. The main riff has this modern Metallica quality to it. Not a criticism, just an observation. Allen's vocals make it sound unmistakably like classic metal church. There's a cool drum interlude towards the end where Ken Mary really announces himself, and Van Zant's guitar solo is excellent. Deep Cover Shakedown is a banger built on heavy chugging guitars and galloping rhythms. The lyrics are a little straightforward, but the guitar work and solos are strong enough to carry it. Feet to the Fire has an early 90s metal church feel. Think the Human Factor era, more melodic with sustained chords and an Iron Maiden flavored bass and clean guitar interlude around the 3.5-minute mark, one of the album's best tracks. The Show is pure classic heavy metal with standout double bass drumming and a jazzy mid-song interlude that makes it one of the most interesting songs structurally on the record. Heaven Knows Slip Away leans into traditional heavy metal, galloping rhythms, harmonized guitars, solid lead work throughout. No Memory blends 80s brightness with heavier tones. It's melodic and heavy in equal measure with more solid double bass work from Mary. Wasted Time is big riffs, big vocals, classic metal feels, a well-placed guitar solo, exactly what it needs to be, even if it doesn't push any boundaries. My Wrath is where the album picks back up in a big way. It's faster, angrier, reminds me of the band's earliest materials, debut album, The Dark. These ones right here, these are the best ones, by the way. The interlude halfway through features some darker tones and more menacing vocals before launching into a killer solo, one of the album's standout moments. Blood and Water, the bonus track, closes things out on a heavy, slow-burning note, starts as a brooding bulldozer of chugging riffs and clean guitar textures, then explodes into double time around the 4-minute mark before pulling back to the main melody, a strong and satisfying closer. Here's the bottom line. Dead to Rights is the best Metal Church album in a very long time, and it's almost entirely because of this new lineup. Brian Allen is the real deal, the vocalist the band has needed since Mike Howe's passing. Ellefson and Mary form one of the tightest rhythm sections the band has ever had, and Kurdt Vanderhoof, as always, delivers riffs and the vision that keeps the band worth following. Is it a perfect album? No. The back half loses some momentum, and a few lyrics could have been stronger, but when this record is firing on all cylinders, and that's most of the time, it sounds like a band that's genuinely energized and excited to be making music together. That enthusiasm comes through in every track. I'm giving Dead to Rights by Metal Church 8.5 out of 10. If you want more Metal Church content, check out my review of Congregation of Annihilation. I did that one a couple years ago when it came out. Should be appearing on your screen right now. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this album? Is Brian Allen the right man for the job? I want to hear from you. And thanks for watching. Please like this video and all that good stuff. See you in the next one.